What's good, ladies and gents, boys and girls, Duggars and Diggettes? It's your man Stack on the way, aka the Dig Dug himself, and today we're going to take a quick look at Silver Rathalos. Now, Silver Rathalos is an old monster. My man has been around for a very long time, and contrary to belief, he is not a subspecies. He's what's known as a rare, like a rare variant or a rare species, however you wish you would to call it. But the cool thing about him is that there's only a couple of these type of monsters in all of Monster Hunter. Him, Gold Rathian, Lucid Nargacuga, Abyssal Lagiacrus, so on and so forth. Not a whole lot. Nevertheless, the difference between him and your standard variant Rathalos and even the Azure Rathalos is that usually they would combine abilities that the Rathalos would have and the Silver Rathalos would have, and then they would, the Azure Rathalos would have, and then they would kind of meld together and come up with this particular beast here. Now, that's still kind of true, but what they did in Iceborne is that they gave Silver Rathalos something that's wholly to himself, that you couldn't say, oh well, I could totally see Rathalos having that, or I could totally see Azure Rathalos having that. He has an additional state. I'm pretty sure there's an official name for it, but we know that the semantics, that is me, there is nothing official about what I say or do, so I'm gonna call it just charged up state. I don't even know what else to call it. I was gonna call it something like off the cuff, something like sporadic and wild and zany, but he's charged up. I mean, that's just it. He's powered up. He's Blue Fire Rathalos is what I'll probably call him. Yeah, Blue Fire Rathalos. There we go. Blue Fire Rathalos state. Now, what that means is once he gets enraged, he will actually have completely different manners. He'll have different behaviors, different animations, different attacks, a lot of really cool things. But we get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about Rathalos as he stands before us. So before you actually go up to fight my man, you're going to need to know his main weakness. And his main weakness, believe it or not, is not dragon. He's actually quite resilient. If not, his highest resilience is that of dragon, I believe. Then, of course, followed by fire. But you're going to want to come here with water. It has been this weird thing since day one for him, but water is going to be the weapon you're going to need to come in here with to do the most damage against them. It's kind of going to be a little difficult to get unless you have Sappy weapons, or even right now that we speak, since water is one of the weaker elements in all of Monster Hunter World. If you don't have a decent anomaly weapon, you could probably get a Sappy weapon, or I forget what they're called, but they're the new event quest weapons. You get them from first fighting Barioth in the arena. It's an event quest, and it's the special arena, not an arena quest. But then you upgrade that exact weapon by going through arena quest. It's kind of a thing. Nevertheless, if you can manage that, you'll have yourself a pretty decent weapon. You have to awaken it, of course. Nevertheless, go in here with water, and you'll do relatively fine against him. Now let's go back to a couple of the things that it actually has. So he has your standard fare Rathalos attacks. You know, the fireballs, the jump back fireballs, the funky toenail, the foot drop, I guess you could say. That all these things poison you, so on and so forth. And then whenever he gets really mad, he goes into his blue form, where he gets a whole plethora of different, and not necessarily a whole plethora, but he gets a whole new range of attacks and a whole new range of mannerisms. I mean, again, the fire that he emits is actually blue, so that's actually really cool. You can see on his body. His body actually has blue like coursing through his veins and his chest, along his scales and everything like that. It's really a sight to behold. It's actually very similar to the weapon I'm using right now, but just imagine that instead of being water, it's actually fire. Now, this new mode makes Rathalos a bit more difficult to actually fight, but if you're like me and you fought Rathalos every day of your life for the last 15 years, you'll be okay. I mean, Silver Rathalos and Gold Rathian, between the two, the Gold Rathian is the only one that really gave me any serious measure of trouble. I actually carted the Gold Rathian in my recorded videos, which that will come out tomorrow. But nevertheless, I still think that if you remember fighting Rathalos or Azure Rathalos up until the point where he goes Blue Flame, you should be okay. We will talk more on Blue Flame stuff later, but first let's actually come across the rest of the other things I would like to say, and that's, of course, talking about his gear. Now, looking at Silver Rathalos' armor, it's actually pretty good looking, honestly, all things considered. Now, one thing to really note is that the armor is, I'm just going to flat out say it is beautiful. I said pretty good. It's freaking beautiful. It's amazing. The coolest thing is always the wings on the back of the character. Nevertheless, though, so if you're with the way things look, then yeah, that's nice. It looks great. Now, but its skills is what's the most important part. Its skills are definitely hit or miss. Mostly miss for me. Now, if you look at it, you get full-on fire attack, full windproof, full slinger capacity, and critical boost. Now, that's actually really good. The set's abilities is Slinger Ammo Secret and True Elemental Crit. Well, True Critical Element, excuse me. Now, this set is actually better than you think it is from the outset. One thing to really note is that Slinger Ammo Secret is actually very strong in Iceborne. It works very well with people who like to use slingers. Those who like to use, I think they're red pits. They're really good for knockouts. They're also really good for people who like to use gun lance, because you can actually use the additional slinger ammo for greater value out of the, I don't know what you guys call it. It's called, what is it called? I don't know. I just call it the harpoon sticky grenade thing for the for the gun lances, because the more like ammo you have in your slinger when you make it, the longer it lasts. That kind of thing is actually really useful there. And true element crit is actually is good. True element crit, you usually have to relegate it to a particular weapon. In this case, you actually get it as the skill itself on the armor itself. That's not actually all that bad. And truth be told, if you actually are going to fight a monster who's susceptible to fire, to essentially run the entire set in its entirety all the way is actually not that bad at all. However, if it really comes down to it, personally, I would much rather run the beta. The beta still gives you the slinger ammo capacity, which is actually what I really want. I don't really care too much for fire attack. I would rather save that for other skills. So by getting rid of all the fire attack, I've actually given myself the ability to gem in a whole plethora of different things, because we all know with the beta comes lots of slots and lots of level 4 slots as well. So it's actually something that's really, really cool that I like. On top of that, you still get critical boost maxed out, so you're not really losing a whole lot in terms of actual abilities. You're just losing fire attack and just a little bit of windproof. So in my opinion, I would run beta. But if again you are going to fight a monster who's actually very weak to that of fire, I would actually run this fighting maybe like Volcano or something like that. Eat for some elemental things, probably run an iceproof mantle, and you can do a hell of a lot more elemental damage to that monster. Don't forget though, element does actually have a limit, so you may very well reach your elemental limit on your weapon before you actually take advantage of all 5 levels of your element, your fire element that is. So watch out for that. Now for his weapons, honestly, I will say this about his weapons. Rathalos weapons have always been the best fire weapons in the game. This is, again, it's still the best. However, Safi Jiva weapons do actually exist, so depending on how well you like to actually spec out your Safi Jiva weapons, or if you actually care to get them at all, you may want to still run your Safi Jiva weapons because they're customized to how you like the weapon to actually be. But if you don't have a good Safi Jiva fire weapon, Silver Rathalos stuff is actually still some of the best. And honestly, the gear is top notch. I recommend running any of his stuff. You're going to find joy in all that he has. Okay, so now with all that out the way, let's get back to my man Silver Rathalos, and most notably his blue form. Now, once he's in blue flame mode, he shoots blue flames, like thus. That was editing. I did this in post, of course. I moved the gameplay around a bit so that way you guys can. Anyway, so with that said, I mean, he gets mad. He gets mad. He shoots multiple fireballs, as you can see. He has no regard for anyone's life, especially not yours, because you're here endangering his own livelihood. And he means business. He'll do a lot of things. He even has an additional attack where it's like this bigger, I don't want to say huge, like a much bigger fireball. He likes to combo with it. He likes to set you up for stuff. Like he'll set it up all by itself. He'll set up with like claws, and then he'll go into it. He can do a lot of different, all his other attacks that he would usually have, they all turn up into the blue flame mode, a variant of themselves. They do more damage, of course. Honestly, one thing I learned is that like you would need, I think you need a higher fire resistance, because I had actually 20 fire, I believe, and I was still getting burned by some of his attacks. So I want to say you're probably gonna have to like tune up on the fire. The fire ticks pretty quickly too. The blast area that he actually gives off once he does his super, I wouldn't call it super, his much larger fireball attack, it's pretty significant. So like, let's say there was a point where I was grinding him for gear and I actually died because the blast radius was so big and I was on fire, and then like stepping on the fire, it was kind of nuts. It was some significant kind of stuff there. So just understand, when you go to fight him and he's in his blue flame mode, he's gonna be turned all the way up. Okay, guys, you have to really give him, I wouldn't say give him pause, but you have to respect a lot more attacks that he usually would have that you wouldn't respect as much. So you really want to actually go and flank him to your best ability. Like you want to do what you could to like knock him out the air. Utilize every trick in the book when it comes to the new things that Iceborne has given. Your clutch claw, stun him with KO attacks or whatever. Just do whatever you can to really force him out the air, because obviously that's where he's most comfortable at, and you want to make a double effort to come out on top, because he's a pretty tough monster to fight. Now I'll admit, gold is a little tougher. Gold's blue form is a lot more a lot more in your face as well. So we're gonna talk about gold in a different video, but nevertheless, so Silver Rathalos as it stands, he's a really good monster. He's always been in the game. He's always a nice throwback to have. He's not a subspecies. He is a rare variant, so it's a little bit different. Almost like now I'm thinking about it, what's the difference between a rare variant and like a deviant? I don't know. Rathalos is just the flagship monster of the series, so it's on him to get a new form whenever we get new forms for new formed monsters and whatnot. So think of it like that. Nevertheless, great monster, great fight, great gear. I recommend everything from him. But with that being said, I think that's pretty much all I really have for you guys in terms of Silver Rathalos. Tomorrow, I'll give you guys Gold Raytheon. Then after that, I'll give you, I think, Young Garuga. And then after that, it'll be Savage Devil Joe. Like, I know, guys, I've talked about retiring and everything. I'll talk about that later after I actually complete the decks. We do have Raging Bracky and Furious Rajang, but when we get to them, we'll get to them, of course. But once I complete the decks, I already have all the footage. I got all the footage lined up. All the footage is lined up, and I'm just gonna like take a day. Every day I'll release a video until it's done. We're almost done, so it's just gonna be like for the remainder of this week, including the weekend, of course. I'll get those videos to you guys as well. Once we complete that, I'll give you guys what we're going to be doing after the decks. Since this is the last decks I'm going to be doing, I'm going to dabble in different types of Monster Hunter content, because I've had a long talk with a lot of friends. A lot of people I hold high regard in my community and in the Monster Hunter community itself. Like, I've talked to other people. A lot of people came out to me and they were like, "Yo, Dak, I can't believe you're retiring. You should reconsider," that kind of thing. Like, a lot of people, believe it or not, dead serious. And maybe I'm going to backpedal as to what I actually said and rethink like how I'm going to do my quote unquote retirement. If anything, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to take a step back and stop making this particular type of video and then focus on making better, more original content. I may or may not come back to this. Odds are I won't, but I still want to help you guys. Again, I'll talk about it more in a dedicated video just to that, but without further ado, it's your boy. See you next time. Take care.